this episode of Torque and Horsepower, the podcast. I'm your co-host, Eric Herbert.
And I'm your host with the most, Alex Stursa.
And we have our special guest today, Tina Mudd. This is part 2 of 2. And here we are again at the same place at the same time, just a little bit colder.
Yeah. Nevada's cooling off real quick.
Kind of, a little bit.
It's brisk.
It's not snowing. It is brisk.
See, if you were out with us peasants in Fernley, it's probably still like 50 over there.
You think so?
Yeah, we're not this close to the mountain, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we just have desert over there.
Well, it's still cold.
Yeah.
And everything here is steel.
That's right. Oh,
We didn't introduce our producer, editor, marketing manager, the hammer, Drew Miles.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. As I like
Still
to call
the
him.
most handsome guy here.
Yeah.
And the shyest guy here.
Shyest guy here.
Yep.
He likes to be off camera till we get him on camera. Then he's going to have fan mail.
He is going to have fan mail.
Fan mail, that reminds me. So we have a website, Torque and Horsepower, Torque N, the letter N, horsepower.com. You can write in anytime, day or night, questions for the hosts.
Yeah.
And we'd love to answer questions. We kind of screwed the listeners last podcast because we didn't talk about torque and horsepower. Still, we're on like episode 27.
Eric broke a promise again. Weird.
Yeah, weird. It's happened like twice today.
Yeah. Sarah said he hardly ever does it.
Yeah.
He's always on his game.
So, torque and horsepower. I don't know how exactly we came up with the name, except that Alex deals in big torque numbers with the equipment he works on. And my business, building performance racing engines, we try to make horsepower.
Right.
That's my goal. It's my dream. Horsepower is a function of torque. I'm going to give him 10 minutes. You can pipe in any time.
Okay.
Torque, in layman's terms, for a guy, no offense, Tina.
No, this is great. Keep going.
So, torque is leverage, right? You could say it's leverage. It's how many pounds at 1 foot. So if you had a ruler hanging on the wall and was a foot long and you stuck a pin or a nail through the 1-inch part of the ruler into the wall and you put 1 pound of weight at 12 inches, that would be 1 foot at 1 pound of torque.
Right.
So we call that pound-feet of torque. Another way to give you a analogy would be in the morning, most guys have what's called a piss boner.
Yeah.
So that is a erection that only goes away after you pee, not before you pee. So torque for a guy is when you go in the bathroom in the morning and you have an erection, and when you push down on the head, your heels come off the ground.
Right. I'm super glad my sister's here for this.
This is amazing.
That's torque.
Yeah.
So the longer the shaft is, so Drew doesn't have this problem.
He has the opposite of the problem, right? The longer the shaft, the more torque you're going to make.
It's the less pressure at the end.
Right.
So if you have a foot-long ruler,
right,
1 pound at a foot is a half a pound at 2 feet.
Right.
So we just measure torque at pounds of feet.
Right.
And then horsepower is torque over time.
Right.
So that's just doing the work. So we have the force. How long are we applying the force? If you have a full bladder, that's more horsepower.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so Society of Automotive Engineers decided that torque over time divided by 5250 was horsepower. So 1 foot-pound of torque times RPM. So let's just say it happened to be 5250 RPMs, revolutions per minute. Not rounds per minute. God, that's a rookie one. Divided by 5250 would be 1 foot-pound of torque. So when you dyno an engine, a dynamometer testing is, engine or wheel testing an engine or the whole car through the drivetrain. You get RPMs off the tire, you get RPMs off the engine, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. They always cross at 5250 because that's a mathematical formula.
Gotcha.
So every torque and horsepower curve crosses at 5250. I don't know if it's ironic. How long is a mile? 5,252 feet?
It's like 50.
5280?
5,280?
Yeah.
It's pretty dang close.
Yeah.
Maybe 5281.
Yeah.
If we're gonna
We're
get,
close.
If we're
Yeah.
gonna get scientific, it's really close to how many feet there are in a mile. But
Right.
horsepower can be converted to anything because it's work over time. It can be converted to BTUs,
Right.
watts. The Germans use kilowatt hours for
Yep.
horsepower. That's all I got on horsepower. I mean, I could go more, but I'm going to let you guys interject.
Is it also the Germans that use the bladder reference to describe a torque? I'm just wondering what
think
engineering
it's-
magazine that came from.
Yeah.
I think it's P over time.
Yeah. P over time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm tracking. I'm
Yeah.
picking up what you're putting down.
Basically, I was always taught horsepower is how fast you can hit the wall, and torque is how far you can take the wall with you.
That's true.
Yeah.
I would agree with you there.
Yeah. Because I deal with, we don't really care how much horsepower makes. It's how much power can you make for a long amount of time with like the most grunt. Not like your peak, but how long can you lift this heavy load is what we're going for. Or how heavy a load can you lift, not what is your max load.
And that's probably torque, or in your case, you have torque multiplication,
Right.
where you take an engine turning 5,000 and then you turn a pump at 3,000, so you can load the pump twice as much.
Right. And we have a bunch of variables with that, with compensator valves and stuff like that. So we can unload and load the pump versus how much pressure we're making with hydraulics and all kinds of stuff. So, but that's the biggest thing is how long can you carry that load at that amount of weight is what we're dealing with, not necessarily what is your peak out of that.
No, you want something that will run 16 hours a day.
Right. Or 24 hours a day out
Yeah.
of mining application. You're running 24 hours a day, and what's the heaviest thing you can lift? And you have to do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365.
And typically at the same RPM.
And at the same
all day
RPM.
long.
But for a diesel engine, that's the best thing ever is to set the RPM and just let it run at that RPM all the time.
2,200 RPM
Yeah,
all day long.
yeah, exactly. Whereas you guys are thinking, what's the fastest I could get from point A to point B? And what is the best variables to make that happen? Whether it's even if it takes 3 or 4 hours to do that race, how can we make that happen in those 3 or 4 hours? Not necessarily running at peak all the time, but close as possible.
Yeah, I mean, Smokey Unick said, if you can't make power at $5,000, try it at $6,000.
Right. Yeah. That's what we do with the mullet bullet, but she kind of limits out around 6250.
There's 3 ways to make power. You can make the horsepower in a racing engine. You can make the engine bigger.
What is that? No replacement for displacement?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true. Raise the compression,
Right.
or spin it tighter.
Yeah.
So, like NASCAR's 355 cubic inches. Last time I checked, maybe it's 360. I don't know. There's so many classes.
And what kind of horsepower is NASCAR making?
I think a motor that will last 1,000 miles, 600 miles, is probably 920.
That's pretty fucking good.
But pretty much every moving part's wore out
Right.
at the end.
Right.
Where, that's the benefit of the diesel, is it'll make 920 foot-pounds forever.
Forever. Yeah.
But it only turns like 2,200 RPMs.
Well, even if that, like that excavator I bought, it's got 20,000 hours, has no problems. And
That's just broke in.
Yeah, but it spins 1,900 RPM, 1,850, and that's what you set it at. That's its max, and that's what it just runs all the time. As soon as you start it up, let it warm up, put it to 1,850, and that's where she runs all day.
She'll work all day.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think the bigger stuff turns even less.
Yeah, even less. Yeah, absolutely. So the smaller, I don't know if this is probably how it goes with gas engines as well, but for us, the larger the displacement, the lower RPM you're going to get out of it.
To a point, I would agree. Yeah.
Until you get to like Formula One, right? Like they're tiny engines, but they're spinning crazy fucking RPM.
Yes, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. And I was wrong on my how to make horsepower. A couple cocktails in, I forgot. It's turn it tighter, make the motor bigger, or put more air in it.
Yeah.
And that's the benefit.
Force
of
air
diesel.
into it.
That's the benefit of diesel.
Right.
Is you put more air in it.
Well, nothing is more anticlimactic than a fucking non-turbo diesel. It really doesn't do a whole lot. Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
It's real sad.
But they last forever.
Yeah.
Like you can't wear one out.
No.
But put more air in it.
That's what happens when you have a 7.3 IDI and she's making fucking 120 horsepower. She's going to last for forever, though.
But if you put it like 2 atmospheres in it,
Right.
then it's all of a sudden fun to drive.
Right.
Same with the Volkswagen diesel.
Yeah.
Put an atmosphere in it. It's fun to drive. Gas motors are fun with boost too. And they make more torque. If you can manage the heat, they'll last they'll last longer or long enough, but yeah. So that's torque and horsepower. So 2-stroke, spin it tighter.
Yeah. Two
High
strokes are my
compression,
favorite.
Small displacement.
Yep.
Huge RPM, no valve train, no valves to float, no camshaft. And they make a ton of horsepower. 50 makes a ton of horsepower.
Yeah. Well, nothing makes me happier than like an old 2-stroke Detroit. I have no idea how to work on them, but I love hearing them. Yeah. Just the sound is just fucking unreal. Nothing else makes the same sound. Just a supercharged 2-stroke Detroit.
Ton of power.
Yep.
And we're still using dirt bikes. We're phasing them out because they're not emissions compliant.
And I don't know why the dirt bike sector hasn't done what the snowmobile has done, because snowmobiles have been fuel injected for years, for 20 years. And dirt bikes are starting to come into that fuel injected. Snowmobiles are a lot of the time direct injection, whereas dirt bikes are still doing like a throttle body setup on them. But it does take away from the crispness of a carb, where you really get on top and you can feel that power. It kind of really smooths it out. So I know a lot of guys have complained about that. But as far as snowmobile goes, once it warms up, I mean, it's a clean running unit, and you can make a ton of fucking horsepower out of them. They're doing factory 2-stroke turbos, and they're making huge horsepower.
They're doing a turbo on a 2-stroke?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, 850 turbo. Man,
Yeah.
those things. What are they
Are
making
you
for?
shitting me?
What are they making for power? And it's factory warranty too.
Yeah, I think they're making like out of 800 cc's. I could be completely wrong, but I think Polaris is claiming like 180. Because I was running an 800 with an aftermarket turbo, and I was running a mix of 50-50 pump gas, race gas, and I was about 220 to the crank out of 800 cc's.
Wait. Are you guys fucking with me? There's a 2-stroke turbo.
No, Polaris, Skidoo. I'm not sure if Arctic might have one now, but Polaris and Skidoo were the first. Polaris has the boost. The Skidoo has what do they call that thing? But it's definitely factory 2-stroke.
Factory Polaris is making 185 horsepower.
There you go, yeah.
2-stroke turbo.
Yeah, and that's
850.
warranty. Yeah, 850.
They're wicked.
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
And they're port injected.
Yep. Yeah. So you're still running reeds, and then you're straight into your intake port. They're putting fuel in.
Wow.
Whereas the dirt bikes they're kind of going with like that early 350 Chevy situation. They're doing TBI, and a lot of guys are complaining that you don't have that instant like fun 2-stroke power. You're going back to just a constant smooth uprising.
Linear torque.
Linear, yeah. So a lot of guys actually don't like the throttle body injection because you don't have that fun, playful carb feeling that you do with the older bike.
Shit, I learned something today. I had no idea.
Yeah, they're making big power.
That shit works.
Yeah. And the coolest part,
I mean, the theory's there, but
the problem with snowmobiles is obviously it only snows at high altitude, around here at least. So you're talking 6,000 plus elevation up to 10,000 feet, and naturally aspirated doesn't work great at 10,000.
No, it doesn't work.
But forced induction does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have all the cooling capacity of snow.
Yeah,
around
you
which
have
is awesome.
unlimited cooling. You can just keep it cool. Just keep more fucking snow to it.
Do you have a snowmobile stick?
I used to. I had a 800 that was it was bored, stroked, higher compression, and nitrous.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Had to get rid of it. Had kids. So
Yeah. I never did the nitrous thing.
You need another one because you already have kids now, so
Yeah.
you should get another one.
The reason I sold my sleds is because I don't have anybody to ride with, because all these guys fucking sold their sleds. So I sold my sled and traded
That
it
sounds
for a
fun. If we
7.3.
had snow, I'm
We have
in.
plenty of snow. Let's get one.
I'm in.
Let's go get one.
they are so much fun. It's
Yeah.
it's almost like duning in a sense,
Or
but you're
jet skiing.
Yeah.
I think it's the closest like riding a stand-up jet ski.
but you're riding a rocket.
Yeah.
It's insane. And you're going up something that's damn near vertical.
Yeah. Or vertical.
Yeah.
And like 6 feet of powder. And you just fucking keep her wooded.
No shit.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were making that kind of power.
Yeah, make a good power. Because I think...
And they weigh, what, 400 pounds or less?
Yeah, 400
typically?
pounds probably.
Wow.
There's like Boondocker makes a pump gas or a race gas kit. You're doing intercooler, all that shit, and I think they're claiming like close to 300 horsepower
On an 850?
Yeah.
Wow. Are these obviously are not emissions regulated?
Yeah, they are.
Dry weight is 420.
Yeah, so they're making 300 horsepower at 420 pounds.
So does a legal snowmobile have a cat?
No, not really. They do have the 4-strokes are running more emissions, but like Austin, he was running that 4-stroke Yamaha, and with a tune, he was making like fucking 340, but he was weighing closer to 500. But he was running like he was running 900 cc's.
Turbo 3-cylinder. Correct?
Yeah, turbo 3-cylinder.
Or super, yeah, turbo.
So it's the same engine that's in my FZ09. That's what was in a sled, and they just turboed it because you have unlimited cooling, and they just kept feeding fucking fuel to it.
Wow.
Sorry, I
emissions.
just got the visual of skinny little Austin on this machine that's a freaking rocket.
That's
and
why
I
he could go
can't-
anywhere.
Uh-huh.
The funniest part is
Sorry.
once he got into trees, he didn't have enough ass to
Yeah,
like get
that's
it
what I'm
over.
thinking.
Yeah. So just his little body out there. Yeah. Yay, yeah. It was great.
No,
Sorry.
that's funny. Hang
Great
on.
conversation. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Austin. Is that the dude that left his tidy whities by the hot tub?
No, that was Dawn.
Oh, that was
Oh,
Dawn.
Dawn.
Yeah. Who took my underwear off? You did, you fucking weirdo.
No, I guarantee you no one took your tidy whities off.
Yeah, that was him.
Oh, Don.
Austin was there too. Austin showed up with Dawn though.
Okay, that I might
When
have
I was in my
confused.
underwear and sombrero and they showed up, that was them together.
Oh, good lord.
Yeah.
That was a crazy night.
That was
Tina, have you been on a snowmobile?
Yeah, when I was little, because I grew up in North Dakota, you can't not ride snowmobiles.
Well, that makes
growing up in North
sense. You got to
Dakota.
have one to get around.
Yeah.
Yeah, if the bus can't get through, your folks take you to school in the snowmobile so they don't have to tolerate you all day.
Right. You got the John Deere Spitfire and she's ready to go.
I'm sure it was like some sort of 78 Arctic Cat or something
Yeah.
like that, but yeah, I'm not much of a snowmobile person. I like motorcycles.
So speaking of motorcycles, what motorcycles have you ridden, and what have you done with them?
What have I done with them? That's probably the better question. So I had a little XR100 that I loved because I could just mob that thing all over the mountains by my house out in Red Rock. And then my ex-husband built me a 50 with an 88 kit in it. And I loved that thing because we had ramps and tracks. Like
Foam pit.
a foam pit, like
Wow.
nobody's business at my house. So that was fun because I could hit the ramp, like not the big ramps, let's be clear, but I could hit the little ramps, and I had a lot of fun with that thing. And I know what Drew's alluding to. I want when these guys were little. Shoot, I don't even know how old these guys were.
I was probably like 12 maybe or 11, something like
yeah,
that.
I think I've known Drew since you were probably 8 or 10.
Yeah, somewhere
Around
there,
there,
close to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so my ex-husband and I had a house out in Red Rock, and it had this god-awful green carpet. And I wanted new carpet so bad, but I was married to the cheapest man on the planet. So
Unless you needed dirt bike parts.
unless you need dirt bike parts. Then
No holds.
I may or may not have gotten a set of handlebars for a birthday gift
Yeah.
for a 250 that I didn't have.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I feel like
Bless
you need
his
these.
heart.
Yeah.
That's better than a vacuum.
Yeah.
Right? True story, true story. So I decided I needed new carpet, and the way to do that was to wheelie through my living room on a 50 at a New Year's party. My friend jumped on the back, got a little out of control, went into the TV. So there was a number of those moments in that house. That
Yeah.
place, that was a fun place.
It was a fun place for
if,
sure.
If when the motocross tracks were snowed over, then we would just
Mud Mountain.
Mud Mountain would start, and then we would just snowboard all the same features all
Right.
winter. So it's kind of funny where I've ended up in life from where I
Right.
started. we had good times out there, but I love motorcycles. My ex-husband did some freestyle motocross, so I was around it a lot in my younger years. But yeah, of all the stuff, like I had a Yamaha 125. I had my little 50 with the 88 kit in it, but that damn XR100
It was
my
just a tractor. That thing would go everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere. You could
It was
just
a fun
go.
bike.
I could bring my friends over that had no idea what a motorcycle was and
And they
put them
could
on
ride
it,
it.
Yeah.
and we could just go for miles and I probably shouldn't say this, but drink beers and go sightsee and do all
Yeah.
the things. So
And you guys had 50 acres out there, so you could just cruise for forever.
we did. It was
Yeah.
more or less just a fun park.
It was.
Any day you'd come home from work and somebody's, busting backflips on ramps out in the backyard,
Yep.
or, some of our buddies were practicing for X Games, and you're going to have to probably have Paul out here one day.
We'll have
because
Mr.
his
Mudd on one day, yeah.
I've moved out of there, but the whole neighborhood is now, like, owned by people who are involved with X Games at some point. Like, it's wild. So it was a fun neighborhood, but...
I literally just had to do a transmission and a backhoe for one of his neighbors, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we ride all the time and all this stuff." And like, "Oh, Paul?" I was like, "Yeah, I know Paul." Blah blah. He's like, "Oh yeah, he's a great guy. We ride over there all the time." He's like, "How do you know him?" I was like, "Well, actually, I was a fucking tiny kid when this all went down, but I do know who you're talking about." Yeah, it's quite the neighborhood. The neighborhood's it's a fun neighborhood for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade those days for the world, but it was fun. I like motorcycles. That's my jam.
You have one now?
I don't, and I need one.
I was gonna say.
See,
why
why
don't you have one?
Well, I bought Haley that
'cause I'm by
125
myself.
pit bike, and it's great for me to ride.
Right?
Yeah,
it's
I
a
ride
great
it.
gift for
It's
her.
a great gift for her. Same thing as the handlebars. I was like, "Look what I bought you." Yeah.
It's on the list.
Yeah.
A bike's on the list. I've got some things on the list. Like a muscle car. I've always wanted a muscle car.
And a 4-wheeler to pull your rope and dummy around.
But my dad always gives me shit. My stepdad does, because he's like, well, if you didn't have horses, you could have 10 cars by now. And I'm like, that's true.
Yeah.
So, one day.
How many horses do you have?
Too many. I have 4.
Wow.
One's out to, I know, one's out to retirement. One's pregnant. One I just started, and the other's a baby. It's a shit show, but if you want to waste money, buy horses.
Ask the Hammer about that. He knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is reason 397 I'm single, is
Right.
because I own horses and they take the life out of me.
You have room for a dirt bike.
I do.
Yeah, you do.
I
You
do.
have plenty of room for a dirt bike.
I do.
Yeah.
I do need one. That, yeah. I don't know what I'd get, though.
Well,
I don't know if I
TTR
want-
120 or
Yeah.
110 or
Just
125
some
or
little
something.
cruiser.
Yeah.
I think about it all the time because I live down in Washoe Valley. And I was like, God, just to
There's
ride
a
up
lot
to...
of places to ride around.
Yeah,
there.
and
Yeah.
just to cruise up to VC for the day? How
Yeah.
rad would that be? I don't know. It'll happen.
That's the coolest part about going to Hammer's house is he lives right below VC.
Yeah.
So we just ride side by sides up there.
Yeah.
It's a good time up there.
I'll get one. I do what I
Yeah.
want. So I'll
Do
get
what I
one.
want. Yeah.
Get it for yourself for Christmas. Like,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
I got some handlebars and a bike.
I like it. Handlebars and a bike, yeah. I did get some good Christmas presents back in the day.
Yeah. Handlebars.
Handlebars.
Grips.
Grips.
Yeah.
All the
ASV
things.
levers, all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look
Look
at
what
this,
I found you.
Look, I just got a new top end at the shop.
Yeah.
Cool, right?
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
No, it was cool. It was cool, and I enjoy bikes a lot. I still follow Supercross really super closely just because it's fun. And I love the smell of two-stroke gas.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it smells
Man,
Yep.
there is no smell like it.
Little
good.
VP
Well,
110.
race gas is a little
Yeah.
better. But
Yeah. I don't know. Just soothes your soul a little
It
bit.
does. And it makes me happy that my kids are so into it now because
Yeah.
it like just smelling that brings it back. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is fun. It's a
Yeah.
good time.
If you think about it, motorcycles are kind of a good sport for kids because they gotta kind of be a little gutsy, a little
They
ballsy.
do, yeah.
You know?
Well, self-confidence, hand-eye
Yeah.
coordination, and
Yeah.
and there's no computer, there's no
That's my favorite part about it is because like
cell phone,
my youngest son,
Snapchat.
he wants to like hang out with me all the time and do shit. My oldest, like if you put a computer in front of him or a Nintendo Switch or something, that's all he wants to do.
Yeah.
But if you give him a dirt bike, he'll just fucking hop on the thing and literally ride it till it stops. And it makes me happy because he's not just sitting there. So as much as they want to ride dirt bikes, they can. My youngest is better at it, and he talks shit to his older brother all the time. But it's funny. But it brings out the competition in him because as soon as they get on the track together, Everett's like, oh, I'm going to smoke him. And then he fucking gets into it. But if he's just out there by himself, he's just hanging out, riding. Sunday cruise, yeah. But if his little brother gets out there, they're pushing each other into berms, kicking each other, all kinds of shit. I'm like, get
love
it. Hey, get after it, dude.
It's so funny though how they catch on to that because I took my son out to watch your guys' your kids practice. Since then, I've gotten him a Stasic,
Yeah.
and he thinks it's the coolest freaking thing. But he's
Right.
like, Dad, I really want to go out with Everett and Harvey, but I want the gas powered one. I was like, God.
I don't need this shit.
You
Yeah,
knew
he's
that
like-
was coming.
Yeah.
I know, but I was like, he's got to learn a little bit first. So he's
Right.
like, he's actually doing really good on
Yeah.
this thing. He
Yeah.
has like a week of time on this thing, and he's already like as fast as it'll go,
Right.
wherever he can, trying to hit jumps and stuff on it. And I'm like, dude, calm down. You're like a week into this thing.
Give
I
it a
would
minute.
pair
I'm like-
him with Everett, not
It's
Harvey.
so
Yeah.
funny. Oh my, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
One day,
Because Emerson's definitely
Emerson,
like Harvey. Yeah, he
he'll,
doesn't give a
he's just
fuck
gonna
about
start
nothing.
on a 52 stroke
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not even gonna.
He's all
The electric, screw that.
It's all like old school, crusty demons of dirt style. Just don't care or anything.
so one day I'm at my mom's house, and mom's like, "Hey, the boys are coming up," and here comes Harvey on his, I think it was a Stasic, right? No brakes or
Yeah.
anything. They just kind of pedal along, and Everett's on his motorcycle. Harvey's doing everything he can to keep up because he doesn't want to be beaten. This is a couple years ago. Comes smoking into the yard, but he's got no brakes, so he just ditches it head first into the riprap.
Yeah.
Busts his mouth open. I'm like, what in the hell's happening here? He brushes himself off, and like an hour later, they're going home. Everett takes off, and Harvey's like, oh, I gotta catch him. He does no brakes, so he takes himself out into the fucking garbage can.
Yeah, just smokes the garbage can. Yeah.
Jesus. Kid.
And I live downhill from my parents, so we just
Downhill.
as fast as he could go downhill.
Oh, it's
So it's
great.
a good roll.
Oh yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's funny because like at the end of the night, we'll watch like a family movie, or I'll watch videos on Instagram with them or whatever, just hang out with them. And there's a guy named Axel Hodges. He's kind of like the Travis Pastrana for the new generation. He doesn't do a lot of other things besides bikes, but neither did Travis back in the day. So he's kind of like the new Travis. And Everett looks at me, my oldest, and he's like, what does this guy do for like work? And I was like, this is what he does for work. Like, this is what he gets paid to do. And he gets paid really well to do it. And Everett's like, well, I mean, that's really cool. Like, I would like to do that. And my youngest looks at him, and he's like, well, you probably can't, but I'm way better. I could probably do it. Like, that's just it. But I love the competition
It's
because
a good rub, but
it's not just them just like sitting doing nothing. So
Yeah.
it's they all the time. Once a week I have to fucking buy race gas, regular gas, and I'll mix it. But it doesn't bother me a bit because I'd much rather you guys out battling on dirt bikes and
Oh,
and
hell
having
yeah.
a good time than, you know.
get out of the house.
Yeah, and my kids, that's my hardest part with like other people's kids, is my kids are always outside. Like that's what they do. That's like, we don't do the video game thing. We do to an extent, but not like on the weekends. They're allowed a couple hours each, and if an iPad if they want. But for the most part, they either have to ride bicycles, they have to go outside and just play, just have an imagination and just go outside and play, or they have to ride dirt bikes. Like, you don't have to force them to ride dirt bikes. If you're like, hey, I'll gas them up, they're like, let's fucking
Let's
ride
go.
it. And even in the dark, I put lights in my backyard so they can. I put a little track in my backyard so they can ride that. Like, I would much rather them do that than sit inside. Not only for my wife's sake, because she doesn't have to yell at them all the time, but also like my wife's, you know, tuned up. She can start all the bikes. She can do all the shit, and it's nicer for her because they're outside doing something. They're playing together. They're learning. They have imagination. They have all these things instead of just sitting inside the house. And it works out really well because the competition's great. They're
Well, no,
fucking
they'll
kicking
both
each
be
other
very
into
good.
burbs. Yeah, they're kicking each other like, and they'll come in. They're like, he kicked me. I'm like, fucking go faster then. And he can't kick you if you go faster.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good sport.
Yeah, I grew up. Everything had an engine, like the lawnmower, the weed whacker, the leaf blower. I had some mopeds,
Yep.
go kart. Like, we bought this thing off out of the big nickel
The
with
Big
no
Nickel.
engine.
Big nickel.
Yeah.
Like, it's a go kart with no engine. Had like an office chair for a seat. It was cool. And then there used to be a bike wrecking yard here.
Right.
We went and bought this clapped out Honda 90, and we rode it around the block one time, and then we took the motor off it and put on the go kart.
Yep.
And I rode that thing probably 6 years,
Right.
and then we got a sand rail,
Yep.
and then I was about the time my parents would leave me home alone when they would travel, and then we're taking the sand rail out
Right.
on the street,
Yeah.
like till we could find dirt, like it was asphalt to dirt, and then we were on the dirt, and then hopefully the neighbors didn't see us, but.
Where'd your dad get that? It's kind of like a dune buggy sand rail thing that had that Polaris fucking snowmobile engine in it.
I bought it from my friends, the Hollands.
Yeah.
They had this thing. I don't know where it started, but it was a fiberglass body,
Tube chassis, fiberglass body.
Yeah, the thinnest tube chassis you could ever find. Like
It was like flagpole.
like 30 wall might be equivalent to
Yeah.
it. I don't know, but it had a 650 two-stroke snowmobile engine on it.
Yep.
With a forward and reverse transmission, so it was pretty freaking awesome.
It
But
was cool. It was
that
a
thing would do
straight
like it
fucking
had
nightmare,
33s in the rear on it. The whole wheelbase, like I mean, front to back, this thing might have been 6.5 feet. I
Right.
don't know,
Oh,
but
man.
Yeah,
so
it
you
was
got
a
into the
nightmare.
power.
Big Honda Odyssey.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
my God,
exactly what
exactly.
it was. Yeah,
Death
exactly.
trap.
Yeah.
It was a death trap because I mean this thing as soon as you get in a power band, the front tires aren't on the ground.
Yeah.
And so you're just like, and there's no like, steering in the rear. You didn't have
It was
independent.
live axle, probably.
Exactly.
It was live actually. Yeah.
because it was
It was.
it was chain driven to the rear. So
Yeah.
it was the sketchiest thing ever, but it was probably one of my favorite things to
It
drive as a
definitely
kid.
was. Yeah, it was a blast. We broke the frame on it one time, and my dad comes over with like his Cashman truck and some 7018, and he goes to like weld it up, and it just blows through the fucking. It's just a huge hole now, and he's like, "What the fuck is this thing made out of?" He did end up stitching it up, but it literally was the thinnest wall fucking thing you've ever seen. Like it was death.
It's like electrical conduit.
Oh,
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but it was cool. It was fun. Well, now that we got you back for our second episode, we'll get back into it. What is one thing in your business / successful life that you did not expect?
Oh, I really think I said this earlier, but one thing that I didn't expect was the path that I ended up on.
Right.
I went to college to go to law school for environmental law. That was my intention. And then I got married to said motorcycle dude who didn't want to move out of Reno. So that kind of put a kibosh on it. So it led me to construction. But again, I wouldn't change it for the world. Like I love the place that I'm in, and it's
Right.
really cool. So I wouldn't change it. But that unfortunate series of events led me to construction. And people
Right.
probably think that I'm nuts, but
It's a fun environment, though.
it is. And
Yeah.
I just feel like I get to do some really cool shit. Like
Right.
I can
like
drive.
Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
I can drive around the neighborhood and be like, "We built that. We built that. We built this bike path. We built the Southeast Connector." Like
Right.
you have a stamp on the community forever, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I like it.
absolutely.
I like it. Yeah.
Is there any common myths or misconceptions that happen in our industry that you deal with regularly?
Yeah, I think around just people think that construction workers are just like Neanderthal, grind
Right.
it out, swing,
Swinging
swing
hammers.
hammer
Yeah.
kind of thing, and that's not at all what it is. We have some of the most creative people you've ever met,
Right.
and at all levels of our business, from my vice president of my region down to our foremen and our laborers. Some of the funnest stuff we do is when we're in a bind, right?
Right.
And things don't work, and you get to get creative. And I just admire these folks' ability to work outside the box. It's
Right.
really cool. If we allow them to. I
Right.
mean, I work for a big company, and there is definitely a box.
Right.
But I do love my region because we allow people to work outside that box. And I don't think if you would have told me at any point in my life that I would be on a senior leadership team of a construction company,
Right.
like a national construction company, I would be like, you're out of your mind. So, I mean, that part's cool. And I think the other misconception is too probably around, again, the whole women in construction thing. Like, there's 100 avenues for us to take in construction.
Right.
As long as we're not, how do I say this delicately? We're not the ones who cause problems, right? You have to have thick skin, and you got to be one of the boys. And if that's not your jam, then go
Right.
work at the mall. I don't know. Go do something else.
Well, and I think a little bit of the exact opposite of that is how caring the construction community is.
Yeah.
If you have you have a problem, or you have a kid with a problem, or
Yeah.
you need this or you need that, like that community will come together so hard for you that there's no questions asked. You'll
Yeah.
be taken care of.
We had again, I kind of told you when all those foremen in a previous chat, when all those foremen kind of came to my defense. Same thing happened when we had the big fire out in Washoe Valley.
Right.
I called in. I'm like, hey, I'm not coming in because we have to evacuate. I got my horses loaded. I'm pointed out. I'm ready to go. Well, my phone's blowing up, and I'm like, Jesus. So finally I answer. I'm like, what? Like,
What the fuck is
bitch
your
mode.
problem?
Yeah, total bitch mode. And it's my guys. They're like, we have a dozer and a water truck and they won't let us in. Where's the back road? And I'm like,
Right.
oh, like that's just the community
They
we
came
work
to
in.
help you out.
Yeah,
They
and that's
did.
how the construction community is.
Yeah.
Like once you're in it,
Yeah.
people will like protect
Yeah.
you 100%.
And I mean, you got to be able to joke and be lighthearted. Like the joke at work is like if I'm carrying a box in and one of the guys grab the box from me, they're like, "Oh, reason 306, women shouldn't be in construction."
Right? Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean, but you got to take it with a great. And I love it. And the best part is, those are the first guys to like open the door
Right.
or yes ma'am, no ma'am, you. And I just love that old school culture. I think it's cool.
Well, it's the same thing like with Dad and his water trucks. Like he has a couple jig drivers, and they're actually the best drivers he has. Like
Yeah.
they don't break
Yeah.
anything, they don't do anything. But as soon as they call me, the first thing they could be calling for Christmas party details,
Yeah.
whatever, and I answer the phone. I'm like, "What'd you break now?"
Yeah.
And they literally never break anything.
Nothing.
But that's the funny part. Like it's you have to have
Yeah.
thick skin though.
When we were kids, we started farming. My real dad in North Dakota had us in tractors when we were 8.
Wow.
We started doing summer fallow. That was how we made our school clothes money. So we got 50 cents an acre to till fields. That was our thing. And my grandma hated it. You can't put those kids in the tractor. And Dad's like, they got a CD player and air conditioning. What more do you want?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
We-
GPS would be nice, but
Oh yeah, my dad would have loved that. So his lines were actually straight. But
Yeah.
so we spent our whole summers in tractors just plowing fields to make school clothes money, and it was cool. But that's kind of where I think the good old grit comes from.
Right.
You need to not be so damn sensitive.
my
And
kids would be
and get
different
to work.
today if we did that.
Right.
Yeah. I dropped my first pickup in the ditch at 8 because I was trying to get the nitty gritty dirt band to replay on the tape player.
It's that fishing in the dark. You
It
gotta
was.
get that.
It
Yeah.
totally was. Oh God, my stepmom chewed my ass, but my
Yeah.
grandma came and saved me, so it was cool. But I don't know. There's just I just think that whole culture around like what you guys do, mechanics and wrenching and construction and these traditional trades where you work with your hands and there's something to be said about a hard day's work that puts you to sleep.
Yeah.
You know, and it's cool, and it's like you're teaching your kids the same thing. Like,
Right.
be active, be smart, have ingenuity. It's kind of exciting, and I don't think you get to do that in some of these other roles. You don't get to do that at the bank, right? There's too many rules.
Well, do you have a
Oh,
lot of
they're
young kids that
everywhere.
want to come in and do what you do, Eric?
No.
None? Yeah.
We had 2 interns we had one high school intern and one college intern, family friends, and they wanted to come work for the summer. And we got this Rolls-Royce Merlin tank engine.
I saw that in there. That was sick.
And it was like, I kind of bought it on a whim,
Right.
but I got enough. I actually ended up with 2 of them, and there was enough there to make one run. And
Right.
like, well, we want to, what should we work on? And you can't unsupervised. You can't just like cut some kids loose and
Right.
like go build that
Yeah.
engine. So the summer project was to make that thing run.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like we had a meeting every week. Here's homework. I want you to do research on this engine. Figure out how it works. Figure out how to take it apart, how to put it back together. We need some instruction manuals. Find out who still works on these. We did a field trip to Temecula to vintage V12s. They do all the old school World War II aircraft engines for current.
Oh, okay.
So they did.
Because this probably isn't something that you work on regularly
No,
either.
it's totally out of my
Yeah.
wheelhouse. Like you guys need to do some research on this and
I
some
don't
homework.
fucking know
and
either. Yeah.
we went down to Temecula because we needed a starter. And
Right.
It was a reverse rotation starter, and you couldn't find one on the planet. And
Right.
that guy had one, and he built. He just rebuilt the Rolls Royce in Tom Cruise's Mustang.
Oh, really?
And so like this guy checks out, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we're gonna run a motor on the I don't know what you call it. It's not a dyno, the test stand, and it's like
Right.
a flatbed 1950s pickup with this like cottage built on the back with control handle and batteries, and they have like this 1700 horse motor, and they fired it up with a propeller, and we were there watching it. They're passing out.
It had the prop on it, huh?
Yeah,
That's cool.
that's how they loaded it.
Oh, okay.
They
That
went
makes
to-
sense.
They
Yeah.
went to full song.
Oh, really?
I thought this truck was going to go down the road. They had the truck staked down.
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
crazy.
shit.
Yeah. It was insane to watch all that, but it was old school. Like where's the dry sump tank? Oh, it's a 15-gallon oil drum. And I had already designed that for our engine to run at the shop. I'm like, we'll just get an oil drum from Uline, a 15-gallon can, and put some AN fittings on it. And that's what these guys had on their flatbed 1950s test stand. I'm like, oh, we're not too far off.
Yeah.
But it was cool, and we made that thing run.
That's cool.
And the kids were so
What'd you
jacked.
end up doing with it?
We sold it. So there's a race. It's Peking to China, and don't quote me. It's like 36 days rally race.
Okay.
And
for planes?
No, for road cars.
Oh, okay.
And it's by period, right? So 1920s.
Gotcha.
And those guys dress, and their pit crew dress is all period correct.
Right.
And they go, they drive a day, work on the car a day, drive a day, work on the car a day. And there's a guy in New York, Rochester, Clutch and Brake. And all he does is prep these cars for these like 30-day off-road races all over the world.
Gotcha.
And he was building like a 1920 Formula France fire truck speedster.
Right.
Nice.
Seems dangerous.
So rad.
Yeah.
Chain drive.
Right.
And the engine that was in the car weighed like 2,200 pounds.
Right.
Or something, and it was a cast iron 6-cylinder that made like 60 horsepower.
Right.
And he was like, well, I can get into a class if this thing was developed before 1940. I can use this engine in this class, and it's 1,000 pounds lighter and makes like 3 times the horsepower.
Right.
And so he was putting that V12 Meteor motor in the La France.
That's wild. In a La
Speedster.
France.
Like it's like that's a totally different planet. I mean,
Right.
I'd love to. That'd be a cool race to watch.
Right.
But like it's 36 days of vacation.
Never mind the travel to
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah, like, well, we're just gonna go to, what was it? It was Peking to, now I can't even remember it. It was China to somewhere, but they put all the boats on a ferry to get to Italy, and
Oh, no shit, huh?
like every night's a party.
Yeah.
That's neat.
And everyone's dressed up in
Their attire.
and it's up to 60s. So
Gotcha.
So there's teens, 20s, 30s, all the way to 60s. So there's guys racing a 1960 Porsche Safari.
Right.
And those guys are dressed up in plaid and
They've
whatever.
got to let the newer cars go first, right? Because I feel like...
I don't know how.
You're just passing up all these old pieces of shit. Just fucking,
Sorry, guys.
Sorry. Sorry about
Yeah.
your chain drive.
Yeah. Oh, you threw a chain. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, it was crazy. But we sold it.
That's
Right.
cool.
We didn't make money, but we didn't. We didn't lose any money.
Yeah.
Like I paid those guys, bought all the parts for the summer,
Yeah.
and we got our money back. I mean, that's all you could hope for on a project
exactly.
like that. No one wants one, but both of those cats didn't want to have anything to do with it when they were done.
Really?
Man, that bums me out because you did the right thing. That's the hard thing is we can get people in, but getting our skilled folks to mentor people, they don't want any part of it. That's
Right.
the other part of the problem.
They did a lot of stuff on their own. They figured out how a lot of stuff worked that they would never see anywhere else. And they're like, I don't want to do engines.
Ugh.
Like the youngest was like, I want to do automated manufacturing. He wanted to design an assembly line on the computer. He used to draw when I needed a part from Sencut Send. Go on Mastercam, and he was like 16.
Yeah.
Go on Mastercam, draw a part, send it to Sencut Send, and he's like, I think I got the teeth right. Sent the part. We got the part. We were making our own tools to work on this Meteor engine. And the other kid, he was in college. I think he was studying business. He left to go to Montana to build houses with his dad, who was like retired construction. But his dad got him back into construction, and they're building houses right now. I think he's learning the craft. So I mean, he's gonna be a builder.
Yeah.
Still something with his hands, that kind of thing. Yeah, tradesman. Yeah.
He's gonna be a builder. The other one, I wrote a letter of recommendation for. He was just starting college, and he was gonna get a scholarship from the Department of Defense to do engineering.
That's awesome.
And so I wrote a letter. I wrote a letter of recommendation for Department of Defense, which I've never done before. Now they know my name, but
Oh shit.
And
he'll do well. But he wanted to design stuff and design
parts and shit.
Process. He didn't want to make the part. He wanted to engineer the process
Right.
of making the part. So
Which that's pretty impressive in itself because I fucking wouldn't know what the first thing
Yeah.
to do with that.
We run into that. That's our problem in my business is everybody wants to design.
Oh, okay.
Everybody wants to design the
Right.
bridge, the road, the whatever. Nobody
Wants to build it.
get up in January when it's snowing and go shovel. Like,
Yeah.
how are we gonna do this today?
yeah,
the
nobody
ground's
wants to
frozen.
build. Nobody wants to build. Everybody wants to design in my world. So we're getting closer, but we'll figure it out someday.
That's a tough deal.
Yeah.
So one question Eric always asks everybody is about guns.
Yeah,
Guns. Yeah.
that's looming.
I figured the two boys here haven't heard your snake story, so I think that they deserve a good snake story.
Yeah, so I decided one day, my best friend Mandy said that I should write a book called The Trail of Dead Horses. It's all these stupid stories of my life. And one of them is I was working out at the mines. I was out at Bald Mountain Mine, a barrack property south of Elko in Jigs. And there's goddamn rattlesnakes everywhere out there.
There is.
Everywhere.
Just hanging out.
Yeah.
And I've got this little Jack Russell who's a tenacious little bastard. 3 coyotes and a snake bite later. He's still trucking. Like, he's a
Yeah.
cool dude. Anyway, every day when I'd get home from work and I'd take a run, I'd run into these snakes. And I just kind of got pissed one day, and we happened to have a fire. I forgot about this. We had a fire, and so there was a whole wildland firefighting crew camped out in the pasture by my house. And I totally forget they're there because I just want to go on this run, but this goddamn snake keeps ruining my runs every day. So I run home. I get my pickup because I don't want to be standing on the ground near the snake. And all I have is a 22 that I've never sighted in, ever. I don't know if it was from Dad. I don't even know if he sighted it in, but
Doubtful.
at the time, that's
Yeah.
all I had. So I have this 22, and I'm standing in the bed of my truck, and I just unload a clip on this thing, like, bat, 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 some more. And I turn around, and the whole fire crew's like, oh, God, what's happening over there? Like, it was so
Everyone
bad.
woke up.
Yeah, the snake's
Yeah.
still just cruising.
Yeah, but here's the shitty thing
Gotta
about
drive by
snakes.
shooting.
They take off in a straight line, and you can't fucking hit them. Like, so I didn't actually kill the snake with the gun. I emptied a whole clip on him, and I missed. So I got back in my truck, and I drove him over.
You got to do what you know.
You gotta do what you
Yeah.
know.
He's dead now. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the important thing.
Yeah. So I've since sighted in that little 22. It's a nice little gun, but I've since sighted it in and traded it in for my favorite little gun, which is this little Savage 17 that I have. That's a good pea shooter, skunk shooter.
Yeah, varmint gun.
Yeah,
We've
varmint
got
gun.
a lot of skunks in Washoe Valley.
Yeah.
Rifle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And none of my neighbors love me until they need skunk shot. And then
Oh.
I'm their friend.
Yeah.
So
That'll do it.
they hate me until I literally just this spring had a neighbor yelling at me. There was some little baby skunks. They're like shooting fuzzy Twinkies. Like they're really hard. They're so little. Anyway, I'm in my other neighbor's yard shooting these things, and I'm not doing very well. And the other neighbor comes out, and she just unloads on me. You are disturbing my dogs. Well, the skunk that I thought I shot, apparently they play dead. It gets up and
Peace.
runs
Gotta go.
under her Connex. And I look at her and I was like, do you want the noise or the skunk?
Yeah.
You know, pick one. Pick
Yeah.
one.
She's
Pick
all,
one.
okay, you can shoot him. I'm like, well, it's too fucking late now. He's under the Connex. So yeah, shooting tiny skunks is hard because like their bodies are like the size of a Twinkie, but their hair
Is huge.
Right,
is huge. So, and I feel bad because they're cute little bastards, but so that's my
A
favorite.
12 gauge would be more effective, maybe.
I know, but I live in damn suburbia, so
The 17's not loud.
No, they're pretty quiet.
I mean, I
Really?
think it's quiet.
Yeah. Compared to
quiet.
12 gauge.
And I got this. Now I
maybe.
have like
Yeah.
this great little vortex scope on it, so now it's like now I'm
It's
deadly.
accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, look out. The whole
Look out,
like
yeah.
small but deadly.
Yeah.
No, 17. That's a good varmint gun.
Yeah,
It
17's
is.
a good gun.
And we have a lot of coyotes, so I got to
Do you
deal.
shoot coyotes?
Fuck yeah, I got to deal with the guy in the park. That if as long as there's nobody around, I can take him out.
Oh shit.
So I mean, like remember I said earlier, it's about who you know.
Yeah.
That's where it
no,
comes
that's a
in
good
Right.
handy.
deal.
So, but yeah, no,
And there's
I
a
don't know.
ton of fucking coyotes down there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
an endless supply.
I do like to shoot. That is one of the things I like to
Yeah.
do. I like to go home to North Dakota because my dad builds ghost guns all winter. Like, that's his thing because
nice.
he
Yeah.
farms. So he brews beer and builds ghost guns all winter. And then in the spring, there's prairie dogs everywhere. You know,
Oh, yeah.
like
Yeah,
little
that's-
whack-a-moles.
Yeah.
So you just kind of sit on the bed of your truck and drink a 12-pack of beer and shoot
Yeah.
those things.
Shoot
It's
prairie dogs.
Great. It's great family bonding time with
Yeah.
your
It'd
dad.
be fun.
Yeah, so those are kind of my favorite things to do. I'm putting a elk hunt on the bucket list though.
Oh, shit.
But I've
Nevada?
but I got a lot of work to do. I don't even have a rifle. I don't even know where I'd go. But luckily, I work where I do, and everybody leaves in November and December and hunts. So
That's my problem.
I've got resources.
November is the hardest month to get anybody to do anything because all my guys get tags.
Everybody leaves
and
to
they're
go
all
hunting.
fucking gone. The rest of the
Yeah.
year, they won't take a day off.
Yeah.
But all of them want November off.
Yeah, our corporate office comes. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna schedule these trainings," and my vice president's like, "Not in November."
Not because nobody's fucking
He doesn't
here.
even hunt, but
Yeah.
he's like, "None of my people are here."
Yeah.
No.
So it's cool. I will say you were talking earlier, Alex, about Everett and Harvey being competitive, and one of my all-time favorite days was Thanksgiving. We went out target shooting with a neighbor out in Fernley, and our family friends bring their kids out, and they were shooting, I think, a BB gun.
Yeah,
I
BB
don't remember
gun,
what
yeah.
it was. Anyway, couldn't hit shit. I don't know if it wasn't sighted in or they're just bad shots, whatever.
This is a BB gun. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Alex is teaching Everett how to shoot his 22. It was
Yeah.
a little long rifle. It was cute. He's
I got him a little Marlin 22.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's like an actual kid's 22. He can hold it and
two shots
repeat it.
off. And
Open
he's
sights.
Open sights, yeah.
Yeah, two
Yep.
shots off. This kid's got. He's like, oh, he is loading and reloading like a
And
freaking
just smoking
sniper.
cans
Like
at like
just
20 yards, 40 yards, 60
Just
yards, open
killing it.
sight. Yeah.
He runs out of ammo. He gets off his chair at the shooting stand, takes the BB gun from the 12-year-old that couldn't hit shit, lays down his belly, he's all pink, 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 just knocking
With a BB
cans
gun,
out.
yeah.
So the BB gun was sighted.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking if Everett wants to ever beat Harvey, just get
Yeah,
them to a shooting match because that was.
I
one of
agree,
the,
yeah.
I just sat back and I was like, man, that.
Yeah,
is
Everett
cool
can
as
shoot.
shit.
He's good at
It
it.
was
And he
cool.
has the patience for it. Like, that's one thing I have a hard time with is patience. Everett,
Yeah.
he can just chill out for a second, figure out what he needs to
Yeah.
do, and do it. Whereas
cool
me,
kid.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
I don't know. We're going to hit it with a bigger hammer. We're going to
Yeah,
figure out what
get
the
a
fuck.
bigger
Yeah, we're going to figure out
I'm
what's
gonna
wrong
go
here.
get the 12 gauge.
Yeah. If I can't hit a count with 22, I'll smoke with a 12. That's
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah, no, it's fun, and I don't know. I think I just like that's my bonding time with my dad when I go home to North Dakota.
Right.
Is our little
It's prairie dogs.
prairie dogs.
Yeah,
our
killing
yeah,
little innocent prairie dogs.
killing little innocent
Yeah.
prairie
Oh,
dogs
that's a pest. That's a
with
nuisance.
ghost guns.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like
They
coyotes
are.
here.
Yeah.
They're terrible up there.
Well, they're getting worse down here, especially in Fernley.
Yeah.
There's everybody's cats are just
Well,
dead.
yeah, everybody has cats and
Yeah,
rabbits, and
cats,
the coyotes
rabbits,
are like,
yeah,
oh,
they're just
easy pickings.
easy. Yeah.
Easy pickings.
Does
That-
anyone else? Do you shoot coyotes at your house?
I have not from my house, but I have a couple buddies that are really big into it. So I've gone to a couple coyote tournaments and shit like that. But no, it's not like my pastime or anything.
I have two neighbors that just sit on the porch. They have a two-story, kind of like you got going on over here, two-story house that faces out to the park. And just every once in a while, you just hear a poof. and, and there's a text from in the neighborhood chat.
Got it.
One less dog.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, we haven't shot anything out of here. Like we have a rabbit gun, and after I got it, the rabbits disappeared.
Right.
Yeah, it's weird.
I was ready. Like
You
there
should
were
figure out
rabbits
what you need for
everywhere.
the horse gun for the horse next door.
Well,
That
no,
won't ever fucking stop.
I have that, but I just don't want to explain that to the neighbor. I don't know where that hole came from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is weird.
Somebody must have
I
misfired.
didn't,
Yeah.
I didn't hear it, but
The horse has been pretty quiet tonight, really.
Somebody must have fed him.
probably
Yeah.
cold.
It probably, yeah. Before we get out of here, we got a couple more questions. Is there one piece of advice that you give anybody starting out in your career?
Oh, starting out in my career. Ask questions. I think people are scared to ask questions anymore. Like
Right,
we
right.
feel like we come out of the womb and we should know everything, and that's not the way that it works.
Yeah.
So, if you were going to step into my role and build the career that I've been fortunate enough to build, I would say, like I said earlier, work harder and ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And build your network. I don't care what anybody says. You can know everything in the world, but if you don't have a network, it doesn't
mean
work.
anything.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the most undervalued skills that we don't teach people.
Right.
Is people skills and networking and the soft skills. I am not an engineer. I do not have an engineering degree. I do not have a construction management degree.
Right.
And here I am in a, senior leadership role in my company with a science degree, but it's because I can network with people and I can ask questions and I can do things that they can't in the soft skills.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to value those.
Yeah.
So
I think a little bit comes down to humility too, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of things I don't know, and it's easy to say, "Hey, I don't know exactly what you're doing with this piece of equipment. Help me out understand what you're doing with this, so I can help you fix what's wrong with it." Because you say something's wrong with it, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm doing what it's supposed to do, and it doesn't. And then they'll say, "Oh, this is what we're doing with it for this X amount of hours," and it helps me figure out what's wrong with the piece of equipment. Because maybe it's not meant to do what they're doing, so we'll change it up a little bit so that it is.
Absolutely. I think that's why I've made it, like, I have a good relationship with my craft workforce and my builders. And part of the reason is, I'm environmental. My job is to tell them, oh, you're out
Don't
of the
fuck up
permit
Lake
limits.
Tahoe.
Don't fuck up Lake
Too
Tahoe.
much sand, too many hydrocarbons.
Too much PM10. Stop it. But my relationship goes a long way with them because 9 times out of 10, something doesn't look right to me and I want to say something. And instead I say, what are you doing here? Explain to me how you're building this.
Explain to me what's happening.
And
here.
as soon as those guys tell me what they're doing, I'm like, oh.
Makes sense.
No problem here. Have a nice day. See you later. So you're right. You got to be.
And that goes a long way with the people doing the craft because they're saying, oh, this person appreciates the fact that I'm trying.
I mean, it's almost as good as I'm from the government. I'm here to help.
I'm
environmental. I'm here to help.
Yeah.
They're like,
I'm from the IRS. I'm just checking.
I'm just here to help you.
Exactly.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I have some foremen that are like, can you go to lunch and be back in an hour?
Right.
I'm like,
I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is there something illegal you're about to do?
Yeah.
Our joke in construction is do it at night.
That's right.
No, I'm pretty lucky. I got a good team.
That's good. Other than that, is there anything that you want to bring up while we're on here?
Oh, man. I feel like I shouldn't because we are like 2 episodes in.
Right?
For not being very torque and horsepower-y.
That's okay.
I feel like we had a really good chat. No, I think today was really good, and I enjoy all your guys' podcasts, and I hope that you keep doing it. And one of the things that I've enjoyed the most is just hearing about how you are addressing and talking about our labor shortage and training our next generation.
Absolutely.
It's come up in every one of your yes, I listen to you, just like your contractor. I listen to you. So I do listen to you guys, and I think it's just really cool that you're addressing this really necessary gap in understanding for some folks that might be interested. So I think it's fun. Keep doing what you're doing because it's awesome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Glad to have you. Alex, do you want to announce our list of sponsors this podcast?
I don't have a
Here's
list.
His list of sponsors.
Do I have a list of sponsors?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a blank piece of paper.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's Herbert Performance Company, DBM Equipment Repair, Renown Health, Miles Fishing Rods.
Yeah, Big Stick Fishing Rods.
Oh, Granite Construction. Granite
Yeah.
Construction.
That should go over well. Yeah.
Home Light Chainsaws,
Yeah.
Steel Power Sports.
Great Basin Water Supply. Yeah, I think that's it.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Tina, for coming on.
You guys are awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Bye.